Hey y'all, and welcome back to another video of my creative life with Kel Sweetie, where we read books, we make art. Today we are talking about the end of year book tag. I've seen everybody doing it, and I did it last year, and I wanted to try and do it again. I know that I'm a little bit late on it since as I'm recording this, it is like the halfway close to the half back end of November. But it at least is going to be like a cute little checklist as I move through one of my last free months of the year, which is December. I basically base all of my reading off of whatever heritage or celebration is happening regarding identities during that month. That's how I diversify all of my reading. And December is one of my free months since I don't really read any sort of Christmas type of horror or thrillers. I'm just not really into all of that. It's a good way to kind of end my year because I know that I'm going to be catching up on a lot of things on my TBR so I can try and hit my reading challenge goal for the end of the year. So no matter what, I'm pretty positive that December is just going to end up being like my mad dash month no matter what happens every year. So let's go through some of the questions for the end of year book tag and see what I have planned for the end of the year. I am trying my best to hit this reading challenge for the end of the year. I gave myself 65 books to read this year, which is about 15 more than I gave myself last year. Last year's goal was 50. I read 52, and I can officially say, as the recording of this video, I have now hit last year's reading, which is exciting for me because I think the year before that I'd only read like 39 books. So the idea is to always do more. I now know that I'm at least going to pass how much I read last year, which for me is still a win. A win is a win, you know? But it would be even better if I could actually hit the 65 book goal that I put for my Goodreads challenge. I don't know. I don't want to get cocky and say that I think that it would be good because right now I'm doing well with my reading. Now, I could say that and then hit a huge slump or become super busy with all the holidays, which are already starting to pile up, and all of a sudden I find myself reading only 2 more books by the end of the year. But let's not say that's going to happen. We're going to say that I'm actually going to finish my goal. Goodreads says that I'm 5 books behind, which I don't know the math on that. Because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, if I'm at 52 books, and I have a goal of 65 books, it's probably taking my average of how fast I read. That's probably that's probably how they're coming up with me being behind. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like I'm way closer than being 5 books behind. I'm 12 books. I have 12 books that I have to read. You know, when you say it like that, it actually sounds like a good amount for somebody who averages 4 to 5 books a month. All intents and purposes, that being said, we're not focusing on the negative. We are going to talk through the end of year book tag and expect a video coming soon for the celebration of me hitting my goal from last year already this year. That's a little sneak peek on that coming. Let's get through these questions. Any books started that you need to finish? So many. I don't know if I'm going to finish them by the end of the year because I stopped reading them for a reason, probably to avoid a book slump. However, one of the books, at least on here, I really do want to finish by the end of the year. So I need to finish Slewfoot. I slowed down on reading that because it really was slow for me, and I just don't think that I'm that interested in Puritan witch plots. I've tried it a couple of times and it's not snagging me. I want to finish Slewfoot because I want to like Slewfoot, and a lot of people have told me that it is a little slow, and then near the end it starts going off the rails and crazy, and that's really where people start to really love Slewfoot and why so many people recommend it. So I don't know. I want to see if I may finish that. If it's gonna be the other problem is that it took forever to get that audiobook, and I'm pretty positive I won't be getting it again in time for me to do the end of the year, so it'd have to be a physical read. And as we know, I am not very good with physical reads. I am an audiobook girl, mainly because I'm way too busy for that. So we will see. I want to finish it. It just was really slow for me. One that I am intent on finishing is Night of the Living Queers, which is an anthology of queer horror. I started reading in, I want to say June for Pride Month, and then read so much other great work. Was not able to finish it. So I want to try and finish it by the end of the year, though, because I do feel like there were some good stories that I had started in there. It wasn't as amazing, I will say, as The Black Girl Survives in this one, which really kind of started me on my whole I love anthology tour, but I do want to try and finish it, so we will see. I am intent on finishing that one. The last ones I have are ones sitting in my library that I have started and have a slight want to finish. I have a feeling come my library nook clean out video at the top of the year next year, they maybe end up getting donated because they just weren't grabbing me. And that was Eileen, which I know so many of y'all love, but it bored me to bits. Like, I've tried twice now to read that book and it's just not working. I don't know. I think that it's gotta be that author. Like, it's just not for me. It was just not exciting enough. I kind of already have a feeling on how it all ends. It just isn't exciting enough for me. The Memory Police, which again, great plot, but I don't need just a lot of exposition for us to get anywhere close to, okay, are we at a climax? What's moving the story forward? Like, I want to love that book, but I just think that it's really slow for me. And it's not that I don't like, writing. I just have a short attention span. Like, we have to be moving. So I think there might be a possibility of me letting that one go as well. Come Out, which is an indie paranormal extreme horror type of book. I want to finish it. It's very queer. It's paranormal romance. And it's very sexy. However, I also feel like this type of romance may not be for me because of how toxic it is. Like, it is, like, self-harm is included. There's a lot of talk of stuff like that. And while I'm surprised by the dark romance portions of it that are like, let me clutch my pearls, I also don't know if I'm truly enjoying it. So I had slowed down reading it because I just don't think that I was getting a lot out of it. Again, it is a physical read, so unless it was really, really grabbing me, I'm not trying to kind of spend too much time on it when I could be finding my next favorite book, when I know for a fact that that one's not going to be my very favorite. I do recommend it, though. I don't feel like I hate it. I just feel like it's something that may have to grow on me. I don't know if I'm going to donate it or not, or even finish it, but yeah. And then finally, Our Share of Night, which I'm pretty positive I'm not going to finish. I'm not gonna finish it, and I also don't feel like I'm going to read it. I think I'm gonna end up donating it at the top of the year when I do my bookshelf clean out. Mainly, again, I am not one for exposition. I am not one for us to use like nearly a full chapter to talk about the background of a character. And that's what this book is. And I have asked even like huge fans of Mariana Enriquez's work if it gets any quicker, if it gets any more enthralling. Do I start getting excited by it? And people have told me no. No. If you don't love it within the first couple of chapters, then it's just not for you. Especially with how thick of a book it is. This is oh my god, I forget how many hours the audiobook was, but it's probably the longest audiobook I've ever had to. That's a lie, American Gods was, but American Gods really gripped me from the beginning. I don't think I'm going to finish it because I've asked people, like, if it gets any better, will I, like, start to really get into it? Because I don't want to be premature about it, but I also got through, like, 20%, and I'm still not feeling it. I don't want to go through, I think it was a 19-hour audiobook, so I just really don't want to go any further if it's not going to be one for me. And from what I've heard, it's not. Those are books that I started this year, and I need I need to finish. There are plenty of other books that I just straight up DNF'd, and I know that I'm probably going to donate at the top of next year. The God of the Woods by Liz Moore was one of them. I've heard people say that they love that book. I got it as an ARC, which thank you again to Riverhead Books for sending me that that book, but it wasn't for me. It was far too slow. It was not scandalous enough to be that slow. Like, All the Sinners Bleed was slow, but every last bit of it was just like, you know, so it was okay that it was slow. The God of the Woods just didn't feel that way to me, so I'm not gonna finish that, and I don't think that I'm gonna pick it back up again. The Bandit Queens was another one, which surprisingly enough, all of these, a good portion of these that I just mentioned, they were on either last year's Goodreads awards list or are part of this year's, which, but I don't know if that's telling of something. So yeah, I started those, and My Murder by Katie Williams, which was another ARC I received. I want to read it. I'm not going to read it this year. I feel like it's a good plot though and premise. I'm like looking at my like TBR shelf right now of things that I started and haven't finished to see like what else is sitting there. I Robot I'm going to read one of these days. I know it. So I'm not going to necessarily get rid of that, but it won't be like by the end of this year. I think that's it. I don't have as many as I thought I did. That's pretty much it for this year. New releases you're looking forward to. I took this as new releases that came out this year that I'm looking forward to. I know some people have taken this and they're like any that are about to end out the year that you're looking forward to. The new releases I'm looking forward to reading before the end of the year that released this year were Brat. I still need to read that by Gabriel Smith. Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. Did that come out this year, or am I thinking of Guillotine? One moment. This came out last year, so it doesn't count. Okay, we're putting that back. Rest Stop by Nat Cassidy, which is a short novella, a short story like novella that Nat Cassidy, who wrote Mary, released under Shortwave indie publishing. I'm really excited to read this. This is physical, but I plan on reading it during my Thanksgiving trip. So, because there's nothing else to do in Ohio. So, I'm looking forward to finishing that up. And also getting to The Darkest Night, which is a wintry horror anthology by some authors that I'm really into. The next question that is on the tag is a book that could become a favorite before end of year. There are two. One I'm reading very, very shortly, and that's White Horse by Erica Worth. I'm gonna put it down here because I think that's her last name, but I'm not positive. I feel like that one could possibly, I feel like by the cover, to be honest, not necessarily like, oh, the plot's so gripping or anything, but I just have a feeling that I'm gonna love that novel. I did just read And Then She Fell by Alicia Elliott. Ended up loving that book. That is a 5-star. It was complete. It had everything that I love. Imperfect ancestors, motherhood, women, feminism, culture, heritage, all of that. So I absolutely loved it, and I think that surprised me that I loved it so much. Like, I thought I would like it. I didn't think that it would end up being a 5-star for me. So White Horse possibly, and then Nestlings by Nat Cassidy, again, because there are situations of motherhood throughout Section 8 housing, our conversations, vampires, stuff like that. So I have a feeling that either one of those could be a possible favorite before the end of the year. This year has been really great as far as 5-stars are concerned. I've allowed myself the possibility of giving out 5 stars more readily, but also that goes hand in hand with also wanting to, if I'm not liking a book, DNFing it, as the beginning of this video really showed. Also, if I'm not enjoying a book, but not enough to DNF it, also being like, this was a 1-star. It just wasn't good. It was good enough for me to move forward in hoping that it would get better, but it just wasn't good. I think that freedom to be like, it's okay if you give something a 1 or you stop reading it, or if you really didn't enjoy it, you can give it a 5. If you'd be like 10 out of 10 would read again and recommend. I think also I've been afraid of how many 3 stars there are. I don't know. I think when I do my actual end of year look at all of the books that I read this year, this year, I think I'll be surprised to see how my rating kind of felt, because I do feel like this year I didn't just like go, oh, you already had 1 5-star this year. You maybe got like 2 more and you can't give out any more. Like I've had The Women Could Fly is 1, and Then She Fell was 1, Model Home was 1, Sorrowland. I mean, River Solomon killed it this year, which we'll get into that conversation in just a moment. For me, Chlorine was really amazing. Like, I still think if I did not give Chlorine a 5-star, I probably should have given it a 5-star, because the more and more, that book still has stuck with me after all this time. So I just feel like it's been a really good reading year, and even if these 2 are not 5 stars, I still feel like, all in all, I do feel like this has been one of the better reading years. I mean, then again, I just got back into reading, but I do feel like it's been enjoyable. And last, started 2025 reading plans. Yes. Barely, very loosely. I've started my 2025 reading plans already. As y'all know, I constantly have an ongoing physical TBR shelf. So these are like always sitting here for me to figure out if they fit into my TBR plans for every month. January, luckily, is another free month for me. So having back-to-back free months kind of allows a lot of, not as much pressure. Reading the way that I read, and that's like celebrating heritage and everything, does mean that, like, okay, maybe you're not getting to the September house until, I don't know, Women's History Month, or another free month in August, or something along those lines. Like, you're not going to be getting to it during February, which I am trying to be more preemptive on my reading plans for February, since I host the I Love Black Horror Reading Challenge I made this at the top of this year, really, and it started my whole journey on opening up my reading, opening up the diversity of my reading, and it really inspired me to just read much, much more diversely. I don't think that I would have read any of what I've read in the past year, which has been some huge favorites, had I not started the I Love Black Horror Reading Challenge. And mainly because after I read so many amazing Black authors, because I realized I was not reading enough Black authors from chasing trends and what other booktubers were saying were amazing, I went into March, which was Women's History Month, and going, okay, let's only read from women this month, and let's see what we get from that. But then going into May for AAPI month, and going, okay, let's only read from Asian and Pacific Islanders in like the horror genre, mainly thriller and weird girl lit, and then going in from there to June of Pride, and then, you know, just moving through these months. And I am so happy with where my reading has gone because of that challenge, and I was so excited to see how many people participated in it and also got so much from it, and I really want to continue to have it grow. So in this upcoming year, I'm trying to become a little bit more preemptive, since I wasn't ready for how big it was last year, or this last year. I put a lot of pressure on myself and was extremely tired putting out all the assets. So being a little bit more prepared, I can, the plan is that I'll kind of be able to juggle it a little bit more. All that being said, I want to read more of River Solomon's back catalog. So expect for my TBR for February to definitely have some River Solomon in it, to definitely have Megan Giddings in it, because that, I found the first book to make me cry in a very long time, and that was The Women Could Fly by Megan Giddings. So I'm very excited to read Lakewood by her. I'm very excited to read The Deep by River Solomon. Aweke Emezi wrote Little Rot, which I know is extremely polarizing, and whether or not you, I guess the word enjoy isn't a good word for that, that book, but whether or not you liked it or not. And I still need to read You Made a Fool of Me, which everybody in the world absolutely loves. So I know that that's not a horror book, so I may be pushing that to like March, but I already have in my mind, like, I know I want to get to this book next year because I couldn't get to it this year, or it didn't fit somewhere this year. And that's like the fun thing about reading the way that I've found. Reading the way that I read is that, okay, a month passed, it doesn't mean that you can't read that book anymore. It just means, okay, you already have your TBR ready to go for next year. And that kind of is exciting because you have something to look forward to. So that's where I'm at with my reading plans, I guess. They're very loose reading plans, but it's more so to get like very organized for February especially, and to read the new authors that I became absolutely obsessed with this year, to read their back catalog. I also have plans. I have so many books like on my TBR shelves that absolutely need to be read. I'm buying books as I'm really trying to stick to that, and I think that's something that I really want to stick to next year. I think I got a little loose with it midway through the year, and that's, don't buy a book before you know that you like it. Now some of these books were given to me, or I got arcs of them, or going to the thrift store and finding some amazing like paperbacks, like this Jurassic Park paperback that I found recently. Those are kind of, I'm giving like that an okay. Like, okay, it's all right. Like, you found those for a deal. Like, it's okay. But as far as like stepping my butt inside of a Barnes & Noble or going online and buying books. Now, I'm saying that as we're nearing the end of the year and Barnes & Noble has their hardcover sale, and that's where I missed. That's where last year I ended up buying all of these books, which I think I read. Yeah, I am happy to say that I think I read all of the books that I bought during the hardcover sale last year. And I think that that's what I'm going. I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all and say that I'm not going to participate in Barnes & Noble's hardcover sale. Those are some good deals. So I am going to participate in it. I know it. And I think it does not help that looking at my shelves, I read what I bought during that time. Because it's just like, oh, okay, well, you're gonna read it. Because I did. I read everything that I bought. Oh, the only thing that I haven't read yet is Nestlings. So when I read Nestlings, I can officially say that I read everything that I bought during the hardcover, the paper, whatever their book sale is at Barnes & Noble last year. And I think going into this year, whenever that sale is starting, because I know it's gonna be soon, I'll just have a better idea of what I want to buy. And I'm gonna participate in it. But the rest of the year, I do want to keep closer to really trying not to buy anything until I'm certain that I'm like, oh, I love that book. Go out, buy that book. Instead of going to Barnes, seeing a book that I've heard about, and then buying it. Because what ends up happening is my top of the year book on haul. I mean, it's only been 1 year since I did it, but I'll be doing it again this upcoming year. It's just like, I don't need to be getting rid of books that I spent. I just saw so much money fly out the window at the top of this year when I did that. And I really don't want to experience that again, because I just saw so much money with all the bags of books that I got rid of. And I already know that there's going to be so many. I mean, I just named to y'all like at least 3 or 4 books that I'm going to get rid of in that video, just in the beginning of this video. Those are my plans for the end of the year. I am hoping that I can hit the 65 number, because I feel like it's close. All that math in the beginning of this video, disregard that, because that says I'm not close. But I do feel like I'm hitting a good stride right now, and as long as I keep this up, I should be fine. Because I've already finished now 4 books, and that's usually my average for a month. Like the low part of my average. The high part is finishing 6, which I think we may be looking at this month. Depends on how my physical reads go when I'm taking my trip for Thanksgiving. So we will see. But I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please subscribe if you have not, to see if I can even get through some of these goals, as well as to keep a lookout for my upcoming video, which will be covering all of my reads so far this year in celebration of me hitting last year's reading progress goal. And please let me know down below what your end of year plans are for reading and whether or not you've already reached your goal for the year. I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.